Hi there. Hey, this is Kristi Villani from My Quilting Loft. How are you? Hey, thanks for tuning in to our tutorial for our sew along, and I hope that you are enjoying this quilt so far. There's been several blocks that have been really fun, some a little challenging, some a little bit easy, but you know what? It's all a good fun mix of some good stuff. So anyway, you might notice here, I'm filming from home now. I love that idea. I'm fixing up my sewing room, as you all know. That's kind of fun to do. And so I can be able to film my tutorials from home. And so anyway, let's just jump right in and get started, okay? Our next block is called the Diamond Star. This one is number 29 in our book well, here, I'll hold it up so you can see it. In the Quick and Easy Block Tool book right here. It's number 29 in that book. And this block is a lot of fun. And it's got, as you can see, there is a little bit of there's a pinwheel here and some flying geese and then some regular squares. So, isn't that, okay, so this pinwheel here in the middle is made up of half square triangles. And the flying geese on the sides here, you'll notice have two different color wings. And so we're gonna want to pay attention to that. And so see how this part of that pinwheel is is this same color of the wing on this side. And so you get that effect. So, but I've found in our other, my other book here, in the quilt block builder, say that 3 times fast. In this book here, it teaches you lots of different ways to make the same units of blocks. And so, like there's different ways to make half square triangles. There's lots of different ways to make them. And there's lots of different ways to make the flying geese units. So, you know, you can always just follow the directions in the book on that page, but I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do that, and then we'll get it all put together. So we're going to start with the pinwheel part here, and as you notice, I have all of my blocks already cut, and so for the pinwheel, what you're going to do is you're going to cut a 9-inch square for the one color and a 9-inch square for the other color. And then we're going to do the 8 at a time half square triangles, and then we're going to line them up to make the pinwheel. And then I'm going to set those aside and show you here real quick how we do that. It is pretty easy, and it's kind of a fun way to do it. And you get 8 at a time, and since we're going to make 4 blocks, the 12-inch size of this block, you only have to do this process twice, and then you'll have all the pinwheels, or all of the half square triangles that you need for your pinwheels. So I'm going to use my longer ruler here, and what you're going to do is you're going to draw a line from corner to corner on the back side of one of your 9-inch blocks, corner to corner both ways. And those are the lines that you're going to sew a 1/4 inch away from, the diagonal ones. Now, I'm also going to draw, maybe I need this ruler here. I'm going to draw a line down the middle. I'm going to use this ruler here so I can find right where that 4.5-inch line is, and draw that line here. And then another one going this way. There. So hopefully you can see them okay. So then I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch down the side of the diagonal lines, not of the T, just of the X, if that makes sense to you. And I'm going to make sure that is lined up nice and square on top of the other one. Maybe even throw in some pins. Never hurts to pin unless you're poking yourself. I know, that was really cheesy. Sorry. Okay. And, whoop! Oh, my microphone's not going to let me move very far. And I'm going to sew a scant 1/4 inch, well I guess it doesn't matter, just sew a 1/4 inch down the side of those diagonal lines. Ooh, don't want to lose that. Okay, take my pins out, and then we're going to cut on all of the lines now. Now that we've sewn corner to corner, a 1/4 inch away, as I've said, and now you're going to cut on all of those lines. You know, if you've ever made a quilt where you have to make a lot of half square triangles, this is a really fun and easy way to do it because you get them all busted out all at once instead of all one at a time or 2 at a time. I mean, there are a lot of different ways to do it. Okay, now here's another trick. I learned this accidentally, and I'm sure that there's a ruler that does this, but we're gonna just press open one here. And trim this down to 3.5 inches square. See how many of my rulers am I gonna use? So if you're gonna trim your blocks this way, if you have a ruler that is the exact size of the block, that's the easiest way to do it. But otherwise you can use the lines on any of your rulers. So I'm going to trim this down to 3.5 inches, but first I want to just trim the one side. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I'm going to trim the top and the right side, lining up the diagonal line directly on my seam. Okay, that's those guys. And then flip this around. And then line my the left and the bottom lines up right on that 3.5 inch mark on my ruler, and the diagonal line on that seam. Trim that down. Now you can you can repeat this same process with all 8 of your half square triangle blocks, or once you have this cut exactly the right size, you can do this little trick. Fold it back in half and use it as a template to trim the rest of these down. Now be careful because you're not using a ruler well, maybe use a ruler. But line that up, line those seams up right on top of the next one, below it. And I am sure there's a ruler that does this, and I'll find it. But this is a cool cheat. Tips and tricks, you know? And then you can even trim off those dog ears. Don't leave on excess fabric, especially when you're doing a pinwheel. And see, now my next one is exactly right. So this is a fun trick. So I'm gonna just trim up the rest of these guys real quick, and then we will move on to how we do the flying geese. You want to make sure your seam is exactly on top of the seam below it, or this trick becomes a bad trick. Now you'll do that with all 8 of them, but since I'm only showing you how to make one of the blocks right now, I'm just going to stop at 4 so I can move on to the next step. One, 2, 3. Where's my other one? Oh, it's there. It's in my hand. Okay, so now you're just going to give these a quick press to the dark side. And then we'll lay out our pinwheel. You'll see I'm using the one that I already have here as a diagram, so I can make sure that my colors are all going the right way. Right. There we go. There. There we go. Okay, so now my pinwheel is the right way that I want it to be. So then we're just going to sew those together, and we will have a cute little pinwheel. Now, when you sew these together, you make sure that you're going to not rotate it on your way to the machine, because that can easily happen. Make sure that your seams are nested perfectly right there. And sew that seam. Do the same right here. You want to make sure that, especially where your points are going to, at the point of your half square triangles, where they will come together, where they'll all meet in the middle, you want to have good pointy points there. You want that. This is where that magic happens, by making sure that these are nesting right on there. Okay. Just give that a quick finger press that way. give this one, wait a minute. Okay, here we go. You want to make sure that they're just pressed in opposite directions so you can nest those seams. Does that look right? That looks right. Okay. Okay, now here's another important spot to make sure that you're watching carefully, okay? Because when you want these 4 points to all come together in the right spot to make a perfect little pinwheel. And so to do that, you're going to want to take a pin and poke it right through where your seams intersect at the top there. And they should come right out at the point right there. Line that up, put your needle through where, put your pin through where those 2 points come together on that little group. And then what I do is I slide that up, and then I know it's in the right place in the middle, and then off to the side I put a couple pins to the side of it, because if I were to just turn this pin, it would get everything out of alignment. So I want that to stay put perfectly. So now I take that one out. Make sure that everything is lined up right. Cross my fingers, say a little prayer, and make sure that I don't sew. I want my 1/4 inch seam to go right through where those seams intersect. If I'm gonna miss that exact, go right through it, I would rather be on the inside in the seam rather than the big side, because that's where you would chop off your points. Not too bad, not too bad. What do you think? See? Pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to give those a press. And get that nice and flat. Okay, so next I'm going to show you how to do the Flying Geese. So, okay, so remember to cut, to make our pinwheel, the 8 at a time half square triangles, you're going to cut your squares 9 inches square. So a 9 inch of the yellow and a 9 inch of the green will give me 8 half square triangles, and it takes 4 of them to make one pinwheel. So use the other 4 for your next block, and so you only have to do this part twice. And then now for the Flying Geese, you're going to cut your sky. You're going to cut 4 of the sky for each block, 6.5 by 3.5, and you're going to cut 4 of your wings, 4 of each color, 3.5 by 3.5, and so this is how we're going to do that. Okay, so we're going to just lay that first, and you want to make sure that you have to have your colors lined up right on here, so that you know, you want your yellow, like I'm using yellow. I want my yellow wing lined up with the yellow part of my pinwheel on each of them. So I don't want to screw it up by accidentally putting my thing on the wrong side. So just lay that 3.5 inch square on top of your 3.5 by 6.5 inch rectangle. Draw a diagonal line from corner to corner. Let's see. always second guess myself. Yeah. Okay. Start that line from corner to corner, and that will be my sew line. So right on that line. The other, sometimes you sew a 1/4 inch away from the line, but on this part, you're going to be sewing on that line. Okay, then take your ruler, line it up. You want to trim that off. Leaving a 1/4 inch seam there still, and then I can finger press that back. Press it with my iron. Then I'm going to take one of my green 3.5 inch squares, lay it on top here on the left side of that. Draw a diagonal line. Now if I had my diagonal seam tape on my machine here at home, I wouldn't have to mark the lines because I would just follow that seam tape. I need to make myself a note. Note to self. Get the diagonal seam tape for my machine at home. Okay, so now I'm going to sew on that line. Trim that off. And voila, I have a Flying Geese unit that has 2 different color wings, and hopefully they are on the right side. Yes! Bonus. Okay. I did it right. Yay. Gonna do the happy dance. Okay. So now you're gonna make 4 of the Flying Geese units, and then just for the sake of, so you don't have to see me do it every time. You've seen how to do the 8 at a time half square triangles to make your pinwheel, and how to line your pinwheels upright so that you get a pointy points all together. I've showed you how to make the Flying Geese unit with the different color wings and lining those up correctly right here. So then we would just pretend that these are already Flying Geese right here, and then I'm gonna take and line up my 3.5 inch square corner pieces and lay out my block, and you're gonna make, and then you just sew your rows together. So this way, so this way, sew this way, and then sew those together and those together. Now this is another spot where you're going to want to make sure that you're not losing your point here on your Flying Geese. So I'm just going to skip to this part and show you how to sew that on there, pretending that I've already sewn this, that row together. Okay, so you just poke a pin through the back side of your geese where the seams intersect at that back. It makes a little bitty X at the top. Right through that X is where I'm going to put a pin right through there. And then I want my pin to go, I want that seam to line up right with my seam. So I'm going to put a pin right there. Make sure, oh, I need to move it down a little bit. Double check on the back side to make sure that my pin is coming right through the seam. And then I'm going to put pins on either side of that. And I might even just leave that in there until I have to move it when I'm sewing it. And so you just line it up. Sew it. Don't sew over your pin, take your pin out. And don't sew on the wrong side of that point and chop off your point. And what do you think? See? Pointy points. And then just gonna press that back. There. And so you think you got it? Okay, so remember, you're going to want to make to make your 8 at a time half square triangles. You're going to cut 2 9-inch squares. Then you're going to mark your lines corner to corner and then top to bottom and left to right in the exact middle at 4.5 inches. And then you're going to sew 1/4 inch away from the diagonal lines, and then you're going to cut on all of the lines, and then you'll trim them down to 3.5 inches. And then you're going to make your Flying Geese units with 2 different color wings, making sure that your wings are the right colors, line up on the right spot here on your block. And then you're going to sew it all together, and when you're done, you're going to have this really fun block. And now see, notice I want to show you a color thing here. Yellow really wants to jump out at you, and the green is a little bit more subtle. And boy, in person, I don't see it as much, but boy, on the camera, I just see blue and yellow. And it's also because my eyes are not so good anymore. But hey, color placement is important. So make sure that your colors that you're using are going where you want them to be. And that's my color theory for the day. All right, so again, this is called the Diamond Star Block. It is number 29 in our book on page 41. I almost had to look, but I'm like, nope, I remembered. It's on page 41. Make 4 of them, 12 inches, and that's it. So, okay, so after this block, we just have, do we have 3 more to go? I think we do. And so then we're going to put it all together, and we're going to have a really fun time seeing each other's quilts. Now, one of the things that I'm thinking would be really fun is for everybody that's been doing our sew along, definitely make sure that you're sharing pictures of your blocks as you go in our Facebook community, and make sure that when you're commenting on other people's blocks, you're only being positive, because that's my rule. and like 99.9% of the time, that's all I ever see. So, which is awesome. So don't be afraid to post pictures of your blocks on there. And then when everybody's done and when everybody has sewn their blocks together, I definitely hope to see everybody's quilt pictures in our Facebook community page. But I would love to have a show and tell. Actually, it would be more like a sew and tell at the shop, where everybody that has made this will all come together. Well, maybe we'll probably do that like early in the fall, give everybody a chance to put it together. But what do you think? Are you in? It would be really fun. And now that we can all get out and see each other again, that's really going to be great. Okay, so I've got to get into the shop and open it up. So anyways, make sure that you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell so you get the reminder you'll get a notification when I post new tutorials. And thank you for being patient, because sometimes this technology of editing these videos is not my friend. But hey, thanks for being patient with me. And oh yeah, so make sure that you are watching every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. I do a Facebook Live sale. It's really fun. If you're not sure what that is, you can go onto my Facebook page. Go onto Facebook, go to My Quilting Loft, and you can see the previous Facebook Live sales that we've done and just kind of get an idea of what they're about. but they are a lot of fun. Every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, and I'm in Oregon, so that's 10 o'clock my time. So whatever time zone you're in, make sure you're setting a reminder for yourself, and please tell your friends, and make sure that you are joining the community and posting pictures. And I think I've said it all. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for this. I love you all. Mwah, mwah. Thank you. Bye now.